What can I help with? I know you're going over your client journey and you're working
Yeah,
through that.
that'd be helpful if you could just help guide me on that really quick. I feel like
Sure.
it pretty quickly it kind of just breaks down because they like have the onboarding and then we schedule a bunch of stuff, but then month two just kind of seems like a repeat of
Yeah.
repeatable.
Here's where you want to think about it 30,000 foot view. So whenever you have a client journey, you have time to first value. Do you know what that is? I'm sure you do.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, I would assume it's
So
pretty. Yeah.
yeah, so like that's as quickly, like how quickly do they get some sort of value from working with you? And
Mhm.
so you want your time to first value to be as short as possible because it's like that dopamine hit. Like if you've ever read Atomic Habits, I don't know if anybody has read that here. So there's a loop that people go through. So it's like cue, like, oh, this need, cool, I'm going through the problem, I'm going through fixing it, and then eventually everybody has to get a reward, otherwise they stop doing the behavior. So
Mm.
like you need to give that, it's like giving a mouse a piece of cheese kind of thing. So it's like you have to give your client that reward as quickly as possible so they stay motivated and they want to continue to work with you. And what people notice is most figured out that like if a client comes in and works with you and like the shorter the time to value, the higher the lifetime value that client actually is, right? So
Mm.
the more they're going to pay, the longer they're going to stay, the more they're going to renew with you. So you want to figure out like what is that thing that I can give them or try to help them do as quickly as possible. So maybe it's like you deliver the videos or you set up their website or you get their funnel set up or whatever it may be. You get that up within like 2 days. So then
Yeah.
they're awesome. Like it doesn't always have to be a financial outcome. So getting time to first value down as short as possible is number one. And then number two is like figuring out what are your 1 to 3 activation points for the client. And so like every client journey has activation points. And those are typically milestones that make the client more valuable. So like maybe number one is you get the funnel set up. That's activation point number one, right? Because you do more of like the high level stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe activation point number two is like they get their first lead. Like maybe it's not like the best leads yet, but like you're working on getting higher quality. The second activation point is that you get them more leads. You get them
Yeah.
a, and then the third activation point is like you launch their social media strategy campaign. And so like we want to get to those. I want to look at like what are those activation points and how quickly can I get them there? So like maybe month one or week one or week two is the funnel. Week two is or month two is the setting up the actual campaigns. And then month three is where you start launching their social campaign. So you just want to map out like what are all those we're going to be doing over line because there's going to be different things you focus on throughout the journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's great.
Think about those things. And then what I would do is build in like a client survey within like the first week, the second month, and then like the third month. So you can survey where they're at. And I have an example client survey in the portal, but you can survey where they're at and how happy they are throughout each point. So then you're making sure it's pretty consistent as a kind of like a drop as
Mm.
they work with you.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure the last thing I'd say for client fulfillment is over communicate. So like even if you're not getting things done, like if you're not getting a ton of things done right up front, over communicate and give them timelines because humans are kind of psychologically wired to be okay with waiting for things if you can give them updates on it. I stole this
Mhm.
from Layla Hormozy, I think it was. It was like, why do port delays continuously remind you after every 30 minutes that the airplane's still delayed? Because it's like, oh, cool, like it's still delayed. Got it.
Still coming.
They
Yeah.
they feel better when they have an update. So make sure you have a cadence where you're checking in with them either over Slack or whatever it may be. Hey, we're setting up the funnel, right? Hey, we're setting up this. Hey, this is going to be done by this week. And then you say that you're going to do something and you do it. And then you start to establish this trust with them where he's like, oh, Nathan told me funnel would be up by Tuesday. It's up by Tuesday. He told me he'd check in by end of week. He checked in by end of week. So then they can kind of like ease the foot off the pedal and they feel like they're getting a lot of value from it because you're doing that check-in with them.
Yeah. That's really good.
Any questions on that? But that's just map out your journey and like what are all the things you're going to do because like you might be doing something different in month two. It becomes like more of the same. You want to figure out how can I start adding things to my journey to kind of get them re-excited again.
Yeah.
Because if it's just the same thing like month two, month three, month four, month five, you're gonna start to see churn there
Yeah.
because they're gonna get kind of tired of it. and they're gonna,
Yeah,
unless they're seeing improvements.
that's real. Do you think I could add, like, as I told you about, I'm just doing social content for him every month, and
Mhm.
we'll meet like once a month, talk through how he thinks things are going, but I don't really have anything else for him besides what we're already doing.
Reporting. Can you show him it's going up? Like you just want to show him like, hey, we are increasing in the amount of followers we're seeing. We're increasing the amount of impressions. We're increasing in like medical reporting thing. You can just like send them a report and go over the report with them and
Yeah.
then give them like, hey, here's things we're going to optimize this month as opposed to next month. So like I have a media buyer that works with me for all of our stuff and like he'll give me a report and then he'll tell me what the action items are for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So then I'm
Mm.
like, okay, cool. We're starting to go up here.
Mm.
Like I see where we're going.
Yeah.
And so you kind of like future pace on the end of like what's going to come and get excited for it.
That's great. That's really good.